His Excellency Ali Bongo Ondimba, President of Gabon. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs,
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen,
au début de l'ère industrielle,
at the beginning of the
nul n'aurait pu
industrial
imaginer
era,
que la
no
voie du
one could
développement
have
empruntée
imagined
par nos
that
prédécesseurs
the development
allait
path that our
compromettre un
predecessors
jour
took
aussi
would
gravement
one day so
l'avenir de
seriously
l'humanité
compromise
et de
the
la
future of
planète tout
mankind
entière.
and of the whole planet.
Comment nos parents auraient-ils réagi
What would our parents have
s'ils avaient
thought
su
had they
qu'ils nous
known
laisseraient une maison
that
qui
the house
brûlerait?
they left us would be burning?
Et la communauté internationale se demande aujourd'hui
And today the international
ce qu'il y a
community
lieu de
is
faire
wondering
face
exactly
à
what
cette
can be done
problématique du changement.
given this problem of climate change.
Changement climatique qui réunit depuis
A
hier
problem which, since
l'ensemble des
yesterday, has
dirigeants de la
brought
planète
together all of the
et
world's
mobilise la
leaders,
presque totalité de l'humanité
with
en
almost the
attente
whole of
de
mankind
décisions
on
ambitieuses.
tenterhooks awaiting
En
ambitious
effet,
decisions.
au quotidien,
Indeed,
devant nos
day
yeux
in, day out,
et à la télévision,
before our very
plus de
eyes, and as we
5/6
watch
de
television,
l'humanité
we see
vivent
more
à
than
cause de ce changement
5/6
climatique
of
les
mankind
inondations,
suffering
la
flood,
sécheresse, les maladies,
drought,
la baisse de la
disease,
productivité
a
agricole,
drop in farm
les feux
production,
des forêts et
forest
j'en passe.
fires and what have you, all because of
Aussi,
climate change.
Sommes-nous devenus malheureusement accoutumés
Have we
et
unfortunately
insensibles
become
à
so
ces drames
used
humains?
to and insensitive to
Que
this human
faisons-nous dès
drama?
lors pour éviter
What
à
are we
des êtres
doing
humains
to
de vivre aujourd'hui dans
avoid,
une précarité
to help
quasi
people
inhumaine?
not to live
Que
in
faisons-nous
almost
pour éviter la
inhumanly
destruction
precarious
des
conditions?
écosystèmes
What are we doing to
indispensables à la
avoid the
vie?
destruction of these
Que
ecosystems which we
faisons-nous
need to live?
pour éviter de
What are we
transmettre à
doing
nos enfants
to avoid
ce lourd
handing
fardeau?
this heavy burden to our
Nous devons
children?
impérativement agir
We really must act
pour proposer aux
to
générations
ensure
actuelles
that
et
current
futures
and future
un véritable projet
generations
de développement
enjoy
à
a
faible émission de
true
carbone,
low-carbon
comme nous le
development
commande la
project,
situation actuelle.
which is what the current situation
Ce
requires.
projet ne pourra voir le jour
And this
que
can
si
only
nous,
be developed
hommes
if we,
politiques, le
politicians,
voulons vraiment
really
en
want it,
prenant les décisions
and if we
qui
take
s'imposent
the
à nous.
decisions which we have to
D'autres
take.
crises que l'humanité a
Looking
traversées
back
par le passé
at
me
past
permettent de dire
crises,
qu'il s'agit avant
I
tout
can
de la
safely
volonté
say that
de
it's a
faire
question, first and
ensemble.
foremost, of the will
Il
to
s'agit
act
de
together.
solidarité.
We're talking about solidarity.
Que j'estime
It's solidarity which I feel is
pour
essential
réussir à relever
if
tous
all
ensemble
together we are
le
to
plus grand défi
succeed
auquel
in meeting the
l'humanité
greatest
est confrontée.
challenge mankind has faced.
Alors, comment mettre
So,
en œuvre à l'échelle
how
planétaire cette nouvelle
globally
solidarité
can we
ou
implement this
plutôt
new
cette solidarité
solidarity
reformulée?
or this
Nous devons
reformed
absolument
solidarity?
passer
We really
de la
must move
rivalité et de
from
la compétition entre les
rivalry
nations
and competition
à
among
une
nations
véritable
to
coopération.
true cooperation.
Chacun d'entre nous
Each
compte.
and every one of us
Chacun
counts.
d'entre nous
Each of
a
us
sa part
has
dans
his
ce
or her
combat.
part to play in the fight.
Dans cet esprit,
In-
changer le monde sera
If we
notre
have this
portée.
spirit, we
Nous
can
devons
change the
agir
world.
ensemble,
We must
ici
work
et
together
maintenant,
here and now
pour conduire
to
l'humanité
lead
vers un
mankind
avenir en
to a
confiance.
brighter, more confident
Agir
future.
ensemble face à
Acting
cette nouvelle
together,
conception qui s'impose à nous,
given this
à
new
savoir
concept which is
celle des biens
imposed upon
publics
us,
mondiaux.
namely that of global
L'air,
public property,
l'eau,
and I'm
les
referring
forêts,
to air,
la
water,
biodiversité.
forests and
À
biodiversity.
cela, il faudrait
Add to
aussi
that
ajouter la santé,
health,
les connaissances, la
knowledge,
sécurité et le bonheur
and the
des peuples.
security and happiness of peoples.
Cette nouvelle approche
This
nous
new
oblige
approach
à accepter
requires
le
that we
principe de
accept the
responsabilité
principle
globale
of global
face à un
responsibility
destin qui nous est commun.
because we share the same destiny.
Certes, il faudra
Of
différencier
course,
les
we will have to differentiate responsibilities and take account of national and regional
si nous ne voulons
circumstances
pas compromettre
if
notre
we
avenir.
don't want to compromise our future.
Que des
Nevertheless,
efforts
we
ont déjà
can say
été
that
accomplis.
efforts have already been made.
Son Altesse Royale, le
His
Prince
Royal
de Galles,
Highness the
comme
Prince
nous
of
avons tous
Wales,
le constaté
as we all
lors de
discovered
l'ouverture de cette conférence,
at the beginning of the
joue un rôle
conference, has been
remarquable dans
playing
la
a remarkable
sensibilisation
role
sur les questions
in
des changements climatiques.
raising awareness on
L'Europe a
climate
réalisé des
change.
progrès conséquents
Europe
dans
has
la
made
réduction
substantial
de gaz
progress in
à
cutting
effet de
back
serre,
on
comme elle s'y était engagée.
greenhouse gas emissions
Le
as it
Brésil,
undertook to
pour
do so.
sa part,
And
a
Brazil,
fait d'énormes
for its
progrès dans la
part,
lutte
has made
contre la
enormous progress
déforestation.
in combating
La
deforestation.
Norvège, quant à elle, pose déjà
Norway
certains
is
actes
already
à travers le
acting
monde en faveur
worldwide
de la
to
protection des
protect
forêts.
forests.
Enfin, sans être exhaustif,
And this is certainly not a
relevons
complete
que la
list.
France ne cesse
We should
ces
note
derniers
that
temps de
France has
ménager ses
recently
efforts
spared
diplomatiques
no diplomatic
rapprocher
effort
tous les
to
points de vue
reconcile
et
all
rechercher des
viewpoints
solutions
in the
concrètes
search for
pour résoudre
concrete
les problèmes qui
solutions
se
to
posent
resolve
à
the
nous.
problems we face.
Cependant,
And yet,
ces efforts
all that's being done, all these efforts remain substantially inadequate when you consider the scale of the task awaiting us. Turning to the countries in the Tropical Rainforest Coalition, many efforts to organize and design concepts make it possible for us to say that we are now ready for action which will allow us to cut back on greenhouse gas emissions caused by deforestation and degradation of forests, and we are ready to promote the conservation of these forests. In bringing REDD Plus to the forefront, Gabon will shoulder its share of the responsibility given its mitigation potential in the field of forestry. In so doing, I'm quite certain that we will be saving human life in Africa and in those islands whose disappearance is already on track because of climate upsets and upheavals. Given the urgency, you would well understand that I call on each and all of us to be responsible, because rather than being a political or an economic crisis, the climate crisis is first and foremost a moral duty. Now, in this context, whether we reach agreement or not, the Gabonese people is telling you through my voice that it will continue to do its share of its task and duty. Here, on behalf of the Gabonese people, I commit to go even in in improving forest management. Since the Rio summit, Gabon has created more than 3 million hectares of national parks. We have registered 9 million hectares of forest permits under sustainable development, 2 million of which have obtained Forest Stewardship Council certification for their exemplary management. And we have cut back on our deforestation and degradation emissions by 20 million tons of CO2 per year. And we think that we can reach a figure of 50 million tons in 2015. Furthermore, our action for the climate is already extending to other areas, particularly prohibiting gas emissions from flared gas. A climate plan will be formulated in the year 2010 to allow us to pursue a low-carbon development path. And I undertake to promulgate the Sustainable Development Code, where climate issues will play a central role. And finally, I have committed Gabon to a corruption eradication program in order, once and for all, to establish the principles of good governance, which we need to ensure equitable sharing of well-being and to establish fruitful cooperation. Now, where my country has been able to keep its commitments since Rio, it's difficult for me to understand that others with incomparable financial and technical resources find it difficult to do so for their part. Far too many promises and commitments have not been respected so far. We have to act now. In particular, we need urgent, large-scale action which will ensure success against climate change in the context of the Bali Action Plan and the Kyoto Protocol. For those who might think today that the bill is going to be a costly one, I'd like to tell them they're wrong, because the bill will be even worse in 5 years, and we won't be able to pay it in the next 10. And in 20 years, the price of inaction will be, once and for all, condemning the planet to become a climate change hell because of irreversibility of processes. The fight against climate change is not a choice we have. It's an obligation which requires that we have a shared vision of the resources to bring into play to achieve our objectives. The full involvement of one and all is thus essential if we are to succeed. You will agree, I'm sure, that man has brought about the problems which we have to tackle today. And so, it's up to man urgently to seek appropriate solutions in order to solve the problems. I thank you.